So first, I'm just going to set the conversation right. I knew I needed to have a conversation about repatriation. And repatriation is as simple as this. One of us on the continent needs to make their final journey. And their final journey is in death. And most Africans want to be buried at home. The problem is, and I've seen this personally, is that it seems to cost a lot. And I thought it was just me until I put up my video on Facebook, and 100 and something comments later, I realized we need to have this conversation. And very many people have come forward with questions, with advice, with suggestions, which is something I asked for. But then again, I was told there is a solution. And what the solution is, I will find out by speaking to Dr. Sibert. He's Executive Director at Diaspora Insurance, and Jeff Madzingo. I hope I'm saying that right, sir.
Correct, yeah. You're spot on.
CEO at Diaspora Insurance. I love the fact that the name has no frills. It's Diaspora Insurance. It is for you who is living abroad. I am sitting on the continent. Incidentally, Dr. Sibert, where are you sitting?
In the United Kingdom.
Okay, and Jeff?
I'm currently in South Africa.
Fantastic. So both of us on the continent. So every time we refer to Dr. Sibert, we will tell him abroad. I want to start with you as CEO of Diaspora Insurance, and I have to get rid of the elephant in the room. We have a cultural issue and a taboo issue discussing death, but it is inevitable. What do we do about that?
Yeah. Good afternoon, good morning to the listeners wherever you are in the world. Yeah, it's a very topical issue, the issue of taboo when it comes to Africans discussing death, but invariably it always lands us into problem, treating death as a taboo, because there's nothing more certain in our lives like the fact that will come to pass. Every living being will come to pass. That's the reality. In fact, they say you begin to die the day you are born. You just don't know how long you have. So that's the reality of life. We all come to pass. And the idea of avoiding talking about death or planning for death always, like I said, lands a lot of people into problems, because essentially it's just an issue of one trying to avoid planning. You are simply trying to avoid planning and leaving your responsibility to fate, to say, when I go, they'll see what they can do. What can your children do about it when you are gone, when there's no money to give you a dignified send-off? So the idea of avoiding planning is very wrong. Planning in others, in simple terms, it's simply bringing the future into the present. Then you craft a solution for a long-term problem. And that is not rocket science. We know when you come to pass, you want a dignified send-off. You may want it to be repatriated, but at whose cost if you don't plan for it? So the idea of treating death as a taboo should die, because it creates a lot of problems for a lot of families, because once you are bereaved, the family is traumatized by losing you. When the family has to face the reality that there's no money for the funeral, that's a double trauma. You are reducing your family to beggars for the first time in their life, possibly, just because you avoided planning. So it's a bit, we can talk more about that, but it's a very sometimes annoying thing that people want to avoid planning, because they treat death as a taboo. There's no one, I can bet it to my last penny, there's no one who dies earlier because they've got a funeral policy, or anyone who can postpone death because you avoided taking a funeral policy or planning for your end of life expenses. The reality is that with or without a funeral policy, when the day comes, there's nothing you can do.
I cannot believe we just said that. I have to thank you for being very, very candid about that, because I think it's one of those little spaces we dodge around. And if you were not candid about it, and I wasn't candid about it, what would happen is we'd dance around the issue and not be able to get to where we need to go. But Dr. Sibert, I need to ask you this, but don't we, a lot of us on the continent, you're sitting in the UK right now, we seem to have a belief that it is the job of my people to take care of me when I pass away. They should handle these things.
Yeah, thank you, Caroline, for that question. Yeah, and unfortunately, that's not the situation. Like what Jeff has just highlighted there, it's all about planning. if you leave it to chance, then it means that you're going to put everyone in a lot of problems and trouble, because it's very expensive to cover end-of-life expenses, especially for people abroad. So if you leave it to chance and say, my people are going to handle it for me, because here in the diaspora, people have got societies that they go to, that they attend to, that they belong to, groups, churches, that they kind of like feel like there's a safety net. They can work for support in terms of moral support, spiritual support, social support. But when it comes to real issues like end-of-life expenses, these don't work. And we have had so many, we've seen so many people going on GoFundMe, trying to raise up money to repatriate family members. I'm sure Caroline have come across those messages as well on GoFundMe numerous times. And you see a GoFundMe campaign going on for like months and months and months, someone trying to raise something like £10,000 to repatriate someone to Kenya. And after 5-6 months, you see that they've raised only £500. So that's very traumatic for families. So you can't leave that to your family. You have to plan, you have to sit down, plan for the inevitable, put your loved ones at peace if anything happens. So we encourage our listeners to come forward, take products that are structured properly, that will give them a guaranteed peace of mind, themselves and their family members.
I hear you, but I want to talk about the cost. Now that I have been able to, handle the taboo, let's talk about the cost. You said £10,000. Jeff, what is the minimum repatriation cost? Because I noticed on all the comments that came through on Facebook, people were talking about anywhere between $15,000 to about $25,000. And I guess that is diaspora in the US talking. From the UK, that could be anywhere. Somebody also put 4,000. In fact, they put a figure, 4,750,000, pounds. And I'm like, what is the pound to the Kenyan shilling? It's Herculean. What is the average cost of repatriation? Let me start with diaspora in the UK.
Yeah, the cost of repatriation is quite high, and most of the times, like Dr. Sibert has put it, it's a very unexpected cost. So we find the situations where someone may think that as I speak, I've got enough money to cover that 5,000, or I've got enough money to cover that repatriation. But the reality of life is that savings don't always are not permanent. You start using the money and you get into trouble one way or the other. But to the point, the issue about the cost would vary. But what I can tell you now is that the cost of repatriation, especially, has been made worse or exacerbated by the COVID, the pandemic situation. So previously, you would estimate to say about 4,000, 5,000 should be enough to take someone home as repatriation. But it depends on whether you are going for a standard coffin. And I've seen families repatriating in a very poor coffin on the assumption that when we get home, we'll upgrade it. Or if you go for a nice, good casket, like someone who has been living abroad, you are talking a good more than 5,000 to repatriate. But that's just the repatriation to get the body from offshore to the port of entry in your home country. That's what we are talking about when we are talking about repatriation cost. The reality of family death and the reality of giving someone a closure, giving someone a dignified send-off is that there is a whole lot of associated costs. The prolonged funeral vigil offshore, the prolonged funeral vigil back home while these people are waiting for the repatriation to happen. Things like family travel, it may be the case that maybe 2, 3. Imagine a family, say a parent in a family of 5, one spouse dies, and there's the wife or the husband, there's 3 children. You are not going to repatriate the body and leave the children and the spouse abroad to say, oh, just go and bury there. We have done our part here. In the end, you may find a situation where the cost of family travel can be even higher than the cost of repatriation itself. And when you get to your country of origin, immediately you are faced with the reality that the deceased has arrived at the port of entry and they arrive as cargo. The cargo has to be cleared. There's a cost of body clearance. Then the local funeral director has to do the documentation, the burial orders, all those things. Where is the person going to be buried? People who are gathered, how are they going to be fed? The cost of the burial itself, the cost of the local funeral directors. So it's a lot of cost. So if you started to add up the cost of a funeral, especially a diaspora death, one thing becomes very apparent. Death is not cheap. It gets very, very expensive. And real life example, I lost my father-in-law about 2 years ago now. And the cost of my wife, my sister-in-law traveling to Zim for the funeral, then memorial service, travel again for the memorial service back home. Then you want to do the tombstone, traveling again for the tombstone ceremony. So all those costs are real costs associated with losing one family member. And that's why you find sometimes if you really add up the cost, you are talking a good 15,000, 20,000. It can easily go that high.
I needed to say, Jeff, that it had never occurred to me that it's not just about repatriating the body. You cannot leave children behind. You can't leave a spouse behind. If indeed you're coming, back to the continent, okay. Dr. Sibert, what have you seen in your time? Because I also think, first-hand encounter of a case. I'm realizing now that the person who said anything above £5,000, this is from the UK, was right. And the person who also commented on Facebook and said anything between $15,000 to $25,000 was right. I just thought it sounded a lot, but now that you put it in context, I get it. Dr. Sibert, what have you experienced? What do we need to be aware of?
Yeah, those are the real facts on the ground, that diaspora death is not cheap, and that we just need to have products in place that will cover those expenses. Because if you rely on savings, you can see that these figures are not very low; they are very high, and no one has got enough money up to that amount in their accounts to cover such expenses. So, like the figures can vary, can go up to 20,000, depending on the size of the family, depending on where you're going and what type of funeral you want to arrange. So it's just a headache for all of us here in the diaspora.
And also, if I can add on that, the other dimension really in terms of real life examples is it's not always guaranteed or certain what will happen. What is certain is that it will come to pass. As to where will come to pass, it's a different topic altogether. And we have seen situations with our clients. One time we had a lady from London. She flies to Toronto to see family there. First night in Toronto, the following morning, she didn't wake up. Now what did you do? She lives in London. The body is in Toronto. The family is in London. Some families in Zimbabwe. Another case, we had a young man, early 30s. He went on a Friday. He went to Croatia from UK. Friday, they're having fun with the other young people there. Saturday, Sunday, the parents got a call that he drowned and died. Suddenly, you need to be looking at the cost of you can't even talk the language. You can't speak the language. There are so many costs the decisions. Where do you repatriate the person to? Back to UK, back to the country of origin? Where do you go? So those are realities. The other dimension people don't realize is that as we live abroad, the longer we live abroad, our reality becomes that home sometimes becomes where you live, but you are not completely divorced from your country of origin. So you find yourself on holiday back in Kenya, back in Ethiopia, back in Ghana. But God forbid something happens to you while you're there, and your decision is that I want to be buried back in UK where my children are. What is the cost of doing that? Reverse repatriation, what is the cost?
Dr. Sibert, thank you, Jeff. I had not thought about that. Which brings me, and I think, for all those who are tuned in because they want answers, you developed, and I love the fact that it's Diaspora Insurance, and what you want me to be able to allow you to speak about is Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan. I love the word cash, but first and foremost, when did you develop, Diaspora Insurance, Dr. Sibert?
Yeah, Diaspora Insurance has been in existence for close to 10 years now. And
I'm hearing about you now.
Yeah, we've been in existence for close to 10 years now, and we are a registered company in the UK, and we also have got an office in South Africa. We are authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. That's the organization that regulates all insurance companies and banks and investment companies in South Africa and the UK. So
you were born out of the need for Diaspora Funeral Insurance or Diaspora Insurance in general?
Diaspora Insurance offers a lot of products, but the household name product that we offer, which we're talking about right now, is the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan. So we've got other products as well, like life cover, critical illness cover. But the main product or household name product that we have is the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, which is a product structured to help diasporans, especially from the African continent, to cover their end-of-life expenses. It's a cash cover, guaranteed acceptance on application, which means that when you apply now, you're guaranteed to be accepted. You can cover yourself here in the diaspora, but not only that, but also give you the facility to cover your relatives back home in Africa. Because as you know, diasporans are actually breadwinners for the villages back home in Africa. If anything happens to people in Africa, you're the first person to know, like if someone passes away, to know, because they know that you're going to fund the funeral. So what we don't want is that you're covered here, your family is covered here, but if you lose someone back home, you might need to travel, and also you might need to fund that funeral costs. So we want to make our clients comfortable and manage the death of any member, whether in the diaspora or back home, easier.
But Jeff, I need to ask you this as CEO. So 10 years ago, were you there at inception of the company? Yes. So yes. 10 years ago, you get the idea that a product like this is necessary. Okay. Correct, yeah. But you have to sell it to diaspora first.
Yeah, it's been received very well. Like Dr. Sibert said, the product was really motivated by the reality and the suffering that was apparent in the diasporan communities. So we always view this product as a product that was crafted for the common good of everyone, especially diasporans. And the product has been received very, very well. We have seen an exponential growth in the product over the years, and which culminated in the expansion from into 13 African countries. So we currently cover 13 African countries. Anyone from Kenya, whether you are in Kenya or you live abroad, you qualify for the cover on a guaranteed acceptance basis. In East Africa, we do cover as well Tanzania. We do cover Uganda. We do cover Ethiopia. In West Africa, we're currently covering any Ghanaians wherever they are in the world, in Ghana or anywhere in the world, and they can cover their families back home as well, like was put by Dr. Mandega. Then in Southern Africa, we do cover quite a lot of countries, to talk of South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Eswatini, Botswana, Namibia, Malawi, Mozambique. So we do cover quite a lot of countries, and we are expanding. So the list is really growing, but the product has done extremely well. It's a guaranteed acceptance policy, which has made it very, very simple and easy for bereaved family to access, because we talk of immediate financial intervention.
That's what I wanted to ask. Dr. Sibert, you keep calling it a cash plan. Explain.
Yes, why we have designed a cash plan is because of the nature of our target market, who are diasporans, right? So you want a product that works well depending on your situation, because situations of a diasporan evolves, right? Like what Jeff was mentioning, you can actually go back to your home country, or you can actually go on holiday, and if anything can happen, you can become unwell, involved in an accident, and pass away. and you want a product that works in any situation. So if you happen to pass away in any part of the world, what you need is cash, so that the people can bring back your body. So this is why I've done a cash cover. And also there are situations where maybe someone can actually relocate their home country, and we still continue to cover them, even if they relocate to their home country, because it's a cash cover.
With no money, a death in the diaspora can be overwhelming. Trauma of begging for funeral expenses, loss of personal and family dignity, an undignified and disrespectful send-off, spiraling unpaid bills, no peace of mind. But it doesn't have to be like that. At Diaspora Insurance, we know it's about a dignified send-off and peace of mind that comes with knowing all things are in order. We therefore designed a policy with the diaspora community in mind. You get covered in a currency of your choice: pounds, euros, rand, and US dollars. Guaranteed acceptance, guaranteed cover for life, multi-currency protection, worldwide protection. Your policy is portable from country to country. Payment is within 24 hours of providing the required documentation. Flexible use of your payout. It helps knowing that with Diaspora Insurance, your life will be celebrated no matter what. For a quote, visit www.diasporainsurance.com or call the numbers on the screen. Diaspora Insurance, peace of mind guaranteed.
If you're just joining our conversation, this is a conversation that is merging the continent and diaspora. And these two gentlemen, I think, have gotten my eyebrows going up until all the way here. I was very nervous. Dr. Sibert, who's an executive director at Diaspora Insurance, and of course the CEO, Jeff Madzingo, who is currently sitting in South Africa. And I was very nervous. I was nervous for the right reasons. I knew we needed to have this conversation, but it's very African. And part of it being African is that we think discussing death is taboo. It's not cultural. And then we also complicate that by saying culturally, we tend to fundraise. And the problem with that is the truth, as Jeff said in the earlier video, is that it takes a long time to do the fundraising to repatriate the body home. What also you brought up that I'd never considered is that there is a person, a diaspora Kenyan, who has considered California home. And they could be on holiday here, but they're very clear. Should I pass away, you have to lay me to rest in California. And I've never thought about repatriation in the opposite direction. But apparently Diaspora Insurance and Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan does take care of that. So I'm going to come back to you, and I'm going to start with Dr. Sibert. Give me what the policy is like, because they're sitting there saying, tell us about the policy and the premium, woman. You're talking too much.
Okay, yeah. So the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, like the name says, is a cash cover, right? It's structured in such a way that it suits people's needs. It's very flexible in terms of cover amounts. So we cover people up to 20,000 US dollars or pounds or euros, depending on where you are. So you can cover yourself as a single person, as a family, or as a group. And the premiums are determined by your age and the cover amount that you choose.
Of course.
So and on the policy, like as a family plan, so you're flexible to add your children, your spouse, and also on top of that, like I mentioned before, unlike other products which are offered in the diaspora by the mainstream insurance companies, you can't cover your relatives back home in Africa. It could be in Kenya, Ghana, Uganda, but we allow that to happen because we are serving a unique market and we understand the needs and complexities of our market, which is not appreciated by the mainstream insurance companies. So that's the differentiating factor of the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, the ability to cover people that are outside the territories that we cover or where the people are resident. So that's another important and very unique feature of the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan.
No, listening to you, I went back to the comments and I go back to this lady called Susie Dida. She said, there is probably one London-based company that I know of, And she said, I don't recall their name. She's probably talking about you, but I attended a seminar. I don't know whether you do this. It costs between 8,000 to 12,000 pounds to organize for a body to be repatriated and buried back home. She says, I'm Sudanese and live here with my mother and siblings. We tried to get my mom to take up a policy, but like many of her generation, she doesn't see the need. She says, time is also hot on our heels. This is a discussion we will be having again. Thank you for raising the topic. So clearly, it's also a part of the fact that we do not know. And you're right, Dr. Sibert. The rest of the market and the world does not have a product like this because they're not repatriating anybody. But we are Africans. We want our remains to come home. So, Jeff, I need to ask you this. When people actually do take up the cover, because you love to talk about how many testimonials you have, which is the first thing they take? I mean, they look at everything you have to offer and what do they jump on? Because I might as well get my people to jump onto it as well.
Yeah, I think the simplicity of the cover is quite a big factor in that you find a lot of people may have been rejected for life cover for one reason or the other, pre-existing medical conditions, family medical history, things like that. But with us, it's a guaranteed acceptance policy. But I also want to touch on the comment from the Sudanese lady.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's another misconception and a very wrong premise of approaching insurance. Because a serious concern there is that mom is old and mom will die first and give us problems. And that's not always the case. That's not always the case. As we speak, we've got next week, burial happening in the UK for people who are on our cover. One is a 14-year-old, the other one is a 35-year-old. So reality of life is that it's not always the case that is the older one. So you're talking to mom and telling mom, you're old, now you need a police. You should be talking to mom and say, mom, any one of us can go anytime. We need a family police.
We need a family policy.
There are so many parents who have buried their own children. And to God, there is no register to say the oldest ones should be pruned first. Anyone can go anytime. That's the reality of life. And people don't realize sometimes when we talk about these things, taboo as they may want to present it.
Yes.
Every day in the world, barring the COVID pandemic, you lose about 170,000 people. 170,000 people die every day. Mm-hmm. So if you take that down to seconds or the time we have been on this program, we have lost thousands already.
Yes.
And for me and you to sit here and think that we are cleverer than the 170,000 who died yesterday, or the 170,000 who died yesterday were all younger than me. That's not correct. Anyone can go anytime. The approach is that anyone, you need a cover. Ultimately, what will happen with this is if you take a family like that, every one of them will come to pass. And when every one of them comes to pass, there is going to be expenses. So that's what you are simply planning for. As to whether whose expenses comes first, it doesn't matter.
And that's why I love the fact that you said there's a funeral cover. And I hear you. I mean, I'm just looking at one comment says, last year someone I knew lost their son who was working in Canada. 2 million was used to bring the body back. This is 2 million Kenya shillings. That's $20,000. But when you think about it, sounds about right. Canada to Nairobi, Kenya is not easy.
In fact, to most African countries from Canada, it's fairly expensive. I know a case to Zimbabwe, it was 20,500 Canadian dollars. That's a lot of money to try and bring someone back home. The repatriation itself can easily hit, without adding any other expenses that we alluded to before, can easily hit 10,000. Then you start thinking family travel, the cost of burial on arrival, all those things will be real costs that people need to face up to. But critically, what people need to understand is that, especially if you are taking this into a family discussion, it's not based on age that cover should be taken.
You know, to be honest, I hadn't thought about it that way. And thank you for raising that.
For example, myself as an example, I go take cover on the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan for myself, for my spouse, and my 3 children. My youngest child, I took the cover the day he was born for him.
And your wife went you?
Yeah. The day he was born, the day he got a name, we gave him, we put him on the policy for $20,000. Do I want my child to die and cash in on that 20,000? No. But I'm accepting as a financial advisor that at some point he will come to pass. As part of his inheritance and intergenerational financial security, I will do this policy while it is young and cheaper for me as a parent doing long-term financial planning for my family. That's the correct approach. Not say, in my family, I think my parents-in-law, my own parents are the old ones. We should talk to them about insurance.
I think you put the point across. Dr. Sibert, I need to ask this. Why do I see a lot of comments about documentation? Please remember, Jeff and I are sitting on the continent. You are abroad.
Yeah, I think what we... The problem is that there's a dichotomy of diasporans. Some of them have got documentation, like they got the necessary paperwork that's needed to reside wherever they are, like in terms of visas or permits. And then that those that don't have the necessary visas and permits to be where they are. So like I alluded to before, that for mainstream insurance companies, like your local big insurance companies, probably in the UK or USA, for you to get a product, you have to have
paperwork.
The paperwork, just like opening up a bank account. So this is what people are talking about this, but because Diaspora Insurance is dealing with a unique market and a niche market, and we understand the intricacies of the market that we're dealing with, is not something that we look at. All we want to know is whether you come from those 13 13 African countries, and we cover you. We give you your guaranteed peace of mind. Because what we want at the end of the day is to give our clients a guaranteed peace of mind. So whether you're documented or not, that's not an issue to us. We just want to give our clients a guaranteed peace of mind wherever they are. So this is what Diaspora Insurance is all about.
Jeff, I know you're itching to interject. I can hear you, but I'm thinking it's such a penny drop moment. It doesn't matter where you're sitting in the world right now. As a diaspora African, you're like, Caroline, get off. Let's call these people. Because you have made it clear that you are dealing with a unique need for a unique market.
Yes.
And as such, not governed by what the rest of the world sees as whether or not you can have a product. And that for me is where you win. However, I do believe without a doubt, there's going to be tons of questions. But the minute I post this video, as this conversation goes, so I'm going to task you with the job of looking at some of those questions, reaching out and letting me know when we can answer them. So I'm going to let you both have 30 seconds to wind this up with what you'd like. Any person sitting on the edge, but because there's somebody somewhere who's like, do I really want to do this? What, Jeff, would you like to tell the person who's not itching to get onto your website right now and reach out to you?
Yeah, I think the closing remark would be, thank you for listening to the program. And as Diaspora Insurance, we are here to serve the market. This product is crafted to meet the needs of our own people. It speaks to our people's needs, and it's very, very important that people cover themselves. Also accepting that taking a policy does not necessarily fast forward or bring forward your departure date. Neither does not taking the policy mean that you can postpone your death. It doesn't work like that. And in as much as we all want to live in the hope and belief that death happens next door, I will go and pay our condolences, maybe pay them $5 or pay them £5. One day you will be the recipient of that money, the little money. Because to God, next door is anyone's door. next door is anyone's door. So it's not going to happen next door. One day your door will be what is called next door by someone.
I hear you.
Yeah. So please,
Dr. Sibert,
go on our website, diasporainsurance.com, and you can read more information. You can get a lot of testimonials, and you can find a lot of information. But the ultimate outcome is, please, this is for you. Get covered. Get covered.
Dr. Sibert.
Yes, Caroline.
I just, what would you like to leave anybody? I think we've given a lot of gems, but what would you like to leave them with?
Yeah, I think my final words are like failing, like they always say, failing to plan is planning to fail.
True.
So let's plan ahead. Let us put our affairs together and in order and plan for our families, give them a guaranteed peace of mind. So encourage our listeners to go onto our website, like what Jeff has mentioned, is www.diasporainsurance.com, and read more about our product. You can even call us and we can help you with any questions and get yourselves covered and your families. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you both ever so much. Like I said, there will be questions, and I'm hoping you're going to take note of those so that we can address them in another subsequent conversation. The very best to both of you. And I should have said this. Well done on a product that is not, even the name is not frivolous. It's Diaspora Insurance, and it is Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan. It's as simple as that. And I like the fact that it gets to the heart of the matter. I really like that. Thank you both very, very much.
With no money, a death in the diaspora can be overwhelming. Trauma of begging for funeral expenses, loss of personal and family dignity, an undignified and disrespectful send-off, spiraling unpaid bills, no peace of mind. But it doesn't have to be like that. At Diaspora Insurance, we know it's about a dignified send-off and peace of mind that comes with knowing all things are in order. We therefore designed a policy with the diaspora community in mind. You get covered in a currency of your choice: pounds, euros, rand, and US dollars. Guaranteed acceptance, guaranteed cover for life, multi-currency protection, worldwide protection. Your policy is portable from country to country. Payment is within 24 hours of providing the required documentation. Flexible use of your payout. It helps knowing that with Diaspora Insurance, your life will be celebrated no matter what. For a quote, visit www.diasporainsurance.com or call the numbers on the screen. Diaspora Insurance, peace of mind guaranteed.